Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. So in this video I'm going to go through an updated free hit side for game week 33. I put together an early draft on at the weekend. I've made a few changes since then, reconsidered a few things, taken those European fixtures into account. So this is my free hit team for game week 33. My card is active. I'm going to be following this side in particular. Bar any miracles, this will be the final version of it. So if you enjoy this sort of video, hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and let's take a look at it. So on screen we have the fixtures for game week 33. By now you would have had a reasonable idea if you're about to free hit or not. We'll quickly go through my strategy and reasons maybe why this isn't the best idea to free hit. It will of course be team dependent, but my free hit is active. Okay, we've got 5 double game week matches going on, 10 teams doubling. I'm going to take advantage of that. This has been played out for a long time on my side. My strategy has always been to do it in this week, and that's what I'm going to go for. It could be that you could look to double game week in game week 37. That looks like a good free hit to go for. I've got 2 free hits left, so 33 makes perfect sense to me. Really got to use it now and then go again in 37. Double game weeks is what I am prioritising over single game week players. That's why we're targeting game week 33 and 37, simply for those double game weeks. There are some tantalising matches where you've got single game players, and again we'll have a look at sort of the shield and sword effect of those players. Perhaps we need to just protect ourselves a little bit from some of those gains. And of course, single game week players can outscore double game week players, but you've got 2 chances, so I'm always going to favour a double game week player. European fixtures. This was something that in my first video I was always aware of, how things will be affected by those matches and the players playing in them, whether they progress. So this free hit side that I put together will definitely has changed due to those European fixtures and who played in them. One thing that I was interested in as well was just the predicted points. We'll have a look at that in a minute. We'll also look at different options to this free hit side later on in the video, so stick around for that. But this was my original side. And looking at it, wow, this was last Saturday I put this together. There's quite a few changes that I've now put together. So I've kind of scrapped this, put down who I thought was an essential players, and then really started to work around that. In essential players, I ended up coming up with players like Schmeichel in goal. I thought it was either toss-up between him and Dubravka, and there's a reason why I went for Schmeichel in the end. Pope wasn't really on the list. Ramsdale again could have been, but no, I just think Schmeichel, that Leicester, I want one way into that Leicester defence because they've got reasonably good fixtures. Schmeichel's about the only one I think is nailed for both games. Target as being one of the most sort of best defenders for Newcastle with underlying stats. Telles, with Shaw being out, he looks pretty nailed in the left back position. Liverpool, not expecting too many returns in that game, but Norwich, absolutely. And Cancelo's very much a shield. I'm kind of protecting myself from that Manchester City game, and I still think clean sheet, yes, I'm expecting one. Any attacking returns would be a bonus as well. But Cancelo certainly protects me against any sort of damage that he could cause. A player that no one's really talked about, and I haven't seen in many free hit sides, is Cornet. Maybe I'm being persuaded by recency bias. Maybe I'm ignoring some of the underlying stats. I just think he is a really good player. I really like him. I do like Burnley. I think they're playing some half-decent football at the moment. I think they're decent enough to stay up. And just their desire and hunger to win games, I just think is all there to see. And I think West Ham away is not the worst fixture after they've had this sort of big European night. And then Southampton seem just is a team I would like to target at the moment. So Cornet for me is definitely him. He's nailed in that Burnley side. A lot comes through him. I want him in. I just think he's a good asset for a double game week. Fernandes, non-negotiable. Again, just targeting that Norwich game. The same as Ronaldo up front. Those 3 are playing, absolutely. There's talk of Ronaldo. Will he play both games? I think he definitely plays against Norwich. And I think he probably plays against Liverpool. The one game, I just don't think... the one thing that swayed it with me, Ronaldo, is I don't think I want to go into that Norwich game without him. I think he could really cause a lot of damage. I know they're not exactly setting the world on light, but if you're not going to target Ronaldo at home to Norwich, when are you going to target him? I would back him, absolutely back him, and maybe a response from Man United after that sort of tepid performance against Everton the other day. And then Chris Wood up front. Could have been him and St. Maximin. Went for Wood. I just think, yes, he's nailed on for both games. There's no injury concerns whatsoever, and he's on pens. I like it. I think Wood. A lack of other options as well. He's in. So those 7-8 players form the basis of my side. Who else do I go for? I started then looking at who is predicted to have the most points in each of these positions. This was really interesting. Nick Pope was predicted to get 7.3 points. Ramsdale was also picked at 7.3. Now, I just don't think Ramsdale's fixtures Southampton could get a clean sheet there. I don't see him getting one against Chelsea, if I'm honest. And Pope, again, Burnley defence has not been that tight. So, it's a bit surprised, and I'm prepared to back against both of those points predictions for those goalkeepers. But it was an interesting sort of discovery, as well as Gabriel. He was in my initial side. 6.7, he's the top points predicted scoring defender. Target on 6.5. White then came in. And in the midfield, Fernandes, no surprise there, he's 9.3. James Ward-Prowse, he was someone that I was definitely considering. He's definitely nailed in that Southampton side. Set pieces, penalties, we all know he can score from open play, 7.8. Just not sure I'm convinced about Southampton's appetite for the games at the moment. They're pretty safe, snuck in there in the middle of the division, and nothing to play for. Bad run of results, not sure I want to back Southampton. And Saka, he would be interesting as well. But again, that Chelsea game's put me off a little bit, but I can certainly understand people going for him. But those were the three top predicted midfielding point-scoring players. And up front, again, no real surprise. Ronaldo topped it by a long way. So only Fernandes outscored Ronaldo in all of them. Ronaldo, 9.2 points predicted. Then it came down to Chris Wood, and then Che Adams. And again, same reasons really, looking at Southampton. They pop up, their fixtures look half decent at home to Arsenal and away at Burnley. I just don't fancy him at all. But Chris Wood and Ronaldo, they both appeared. So that was I was pleased to be ratified with that decision, I guess. So my actual team in the end then, as I've mentioned already, I have gone Schmeichel in goal. I think he's the only solid 100% nailed on player that's going to fit in from that Leicester defence. 4.8, decent price. And as we see, price wasn't really an issue with this side. On the bench, I was able to have the luxury of just throwing Pope in there. Could have been absolutely anyone. I don't expect for a minute that Schmeichel won't play. But if he doesn't, Pope, top scoring predicted play and goal, let's go for it. In defence, Schmeichel then, he's only obviously conceding one goal in the last 5 games, so he's picking up 24 points. Pope on the other hand, 2.4. They're conceding quite a few goals, which is unusual for Burnley. Don't expect them to continue to concede that many, but 6 points for the last 5 games, not impressive. Hence, Schmeichel gets the nod. Now we move into defence. Matt Target, look at those fixtures. Oh, brilliant. And that'll be a theme with all 3 Newcastle players. Leicester at home, Palace at home. I think they've got to pick all the fixtures. In Dreamland would be that he picks up 2 clean sheets and bonus points in that. I think I'd settle for 1 clean sheet out of either of those games. Not easy games by any stretch, and no game is in the Premier League. But Newcastle pretty tight at home, as we'll see. I quite like that idea. Cancelo, again, I talked about sort of having double game week players over single. Cancelo bucks that trend, and there's one other player, and I'm just a bit worried, I think, about what damage he could cause me by not having him in the side. And I think it's pretty much a nailed-on clean sheet for Cancelo as well. Shaw, the other one, he's on set pieces, very cheap, could have been dampened. I think Shaw, just for his set pieces and aerial threat and coming up from the back, great fixtures. I'm happy to go with him. And Alex Telles, we talked about as well. Norwich at home, Liverpool away, great fixtures. Or a great fixture. Target 1.8, not great in terms of actual goals conceded. If you take away those goals you conceded against Tottenham, however, only 3 in the last 4, so not actually that bad. Cancelo, as we know, great defence, good attacking threat as well. And there we go for Shaw. And Telles, same as Newcastle, conceding, again, Tottenham doing some damage to both of their defences. But that would be my back forward and playing 4 across the back. Looking into midfield, Ashley Barnes, I was been wavering and waiting on that Leicester team sheet to see what would happen. I was almost willing that game, I think, to go to extra time and all the way. Because Barnes' position, it was a choice between Barnes and Maddison. Now, Barnes didn't start the last Premier League game. He was taken off at half-time against PSV. It was Maddison's just continually playing all of those matches. I think he's played the last 6 in a row. So I'm hoping from that, and Brendan Rodgers saying that there'll be rotation with so many games and they're progressing through the next round, that Barnes will get the nod for both of these games. I think I would back him over Maddison, who must surely be due a rest. I can't see Maddison playing the next 2 games. I could be wrong, but that's the way I'm reading it. I think I would definitely prefer Maddison over Barnes, and I have him in my normal side. But for this double game week, I'm going to back Barnes to at least take part in 1.5 of those games, I think. Fernandes absolutely has to come in. He is more than likely going to get my captaincy shout and it's again that Norwich game that gets all the damage. Anything away at Anfield would be a bonus. And then the other one was on my next shield, Heung-min Son. I've and ahed over this. Not saying it's 100% nailed at the moment as well. I worry not having Son. It was a choice of Son. I could bring James Ward-Prowse in. There was a case of Dewsbury Hall or even Maddison as well. But if Son starts connecting or does a double-digit haul like he has in the last few games, and it could possibly happen against Brighton, I think, then I am really going to get hurt by that. The fact that he's in my normal side anyway is just going to really rub salt into the wound and then potentially have made my original side better than my free hit side. I just don't want that. It would take all the fun out of this free hit side if I had Son and if I took him out my free hit side and he suddenly went berserk. So he is really covering that eventuality for me. I feel more comfortable with him in the side than without. But I'm not entirely happy, but I think for my own peace of mind, I want him in. And the figures obviously back him up. What he's doing is just been fantastic. And in corner, as we talked before, I think he's a really good option, a bit of a differential as well. I can definitely see some Burnley scoring a couple of goals against Southampton. And I can see them doing something at West Ham as well. And they're just so desperate for those points. And Cornet, such a creative player, he'll be at the heart of all of that. Ashley Barnes then, he's 0.4... Harvey Barnes, 0.4 expected goal involvement, 3 goals, 8 assists, 20 points last 5 games. If he comes back with an 8-point return over this game week, I'll be reasonably happy with that. Fernandez, obviously higher than Barnes, but it's reflected in his price. 0.58 expected goal involvement, 9 goals, 7 assists, 32 points over the last 5 games. So I was expecting to get, as we saw, 9.2 points over those 2 games. Again, I'll be reasonably happy with that as well. Son just berserk, just ridiculous stats. And we know how much damage, 53 points in the last 5 games. Wow, he can't surely continue to maintain that. Cornet disappointing least of all, but he's the cheapest at 19 points. It's those fixtures, and the fact he's got a double that sort of attract me to him. He was quite high up on the predicted points as well, so that was quite encouraging. But it's just a hunch. His goal involvement not that bad. 7 goals, 1 assist. So any goal involvement he tends to have is by putting the ball in the back of the net, and that's obviously where we get the most points. He's playing quite far forward. He's the one that can make a real difference to my rank if he goes the right way for me. Up front then, we've got Iheanacho. I don't think he's going to play, but I am going to play him. He'll be on my bench. Ronaldo definitely comes in. We'll have to keep an eye on that press conference. If he does not, if there's some inkling about being some disciplinary issues around the phone incident, or he may not play both games, as long as I know he's playing that Norwich game, I'm happy to have him in. I just think, again, he could really do some damage in that Norwich game. And then Chris Wood, we talked about already, he has to be in. He's the pick of the strikers. Don't feel his underlying stats are great, but I'm just picking him for those fixtures and the fact he's nailed up front and taking penalties for Newcastle. Again, Ronaldo's underlying stats look really good. Last 5 games, 30 points. If he gets, we're expecting 12 points from him. If we get 10, I'll be absolutely thrilled for Ronaldo. Wood, again, his XG not good at all, but he deals all in goals. 20 points, 4. Again, if he comes back with a return, if he gets a goal and assist, I'll be really happy. Iheanacho, if he plays, he's always had decent stats and figures. But again, he'll be on the bench. So if he comes in, hopefully he'll take part in both games. But obviously he's rotating with Daka quite heavily at the moment. If he's not playing in either of them, I'm almost happy because I know Barnes will be playing further forward. But we'll look at other options for Iheanacho later on. So looking at this side then as it stands, we've got 2 single game week players. We've got Cancelo and Son sat there. They really are my shields. And we'll have a look at some other players that I could bring in to sort of protect me as well. But I really worry going into this game without Son. I absolutely sort of torn myself from sort of limb to limb thinking about, do I bring him in? How bad I've looked into Brighton defence, and not as bad as perhaps recent results has suggested. Obviously got the result against Arsenal, but I'm almost too scared to take the risk of him not being there. So for my own peace of mind, he has come in. The rest of the side I really like. I think it's a decent looking free hit side. Obviously got 9 players doubling. Cancelo, I feel, should get that clean sheet. And Son, expecting some sort of return, so that wouldn't be a disaster. And then the big game really over the whole weekend would just be that Manchester United game at home to Norwich. I really need them to hit some form and to cause some damage in that match. Talking about shields then, who else could I bring in to protect myself? Son, we talked about, he's definitely in. Kane, He's another one that could hurt me, but I don't think the damage will be as much. He's obviously getting more assists than anything else just lately, but he could hurt me. Salah, they will be quite highly owned, so again, he could against Manchester United. I'm not particularly as worried in that game, if anything else. And Alexander-Arnold, there'll be a lot of people hanging on to him, so he could hurt me as well. So we'll be hoping from all ways and one that Manchester United fixture, they score and Salah doesn't contribute. Other options you could, there's St. Maximin instead of Wood. I know from open play there was some statistics around the fact that he's a bit more dangerous and more likely to create or score. And I think just the fact that Wood scores on penalties, that just swings it for me. And also St. Maximin, he's had a lot of injury doubts and niggles, we know. Will he play 2 games such close proximity back to back? I suspect he will, but just that nagging doubt is enough to maybe give Wood the edge for me. Dan Burn was another one. Him or Shaw, not sure. I think just Shaw with his set pieces could possibly just swing it for me, but it could have gone either way with that one. And then lastly, Lacazette. I know he's not perhaps getting the shots in and around the box we'd like him to, but he's still up front for Arsenal. Decent fixture away at Southampton, so he could be a choice instead of Iheanacho. Certainly got the money to do it. But again, on penalties, maybe he's a good option. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments below if you're free to hit in. Who do you want into your side? Who do you consider essential? What do you think of this side? Any changes you would make? I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to click that like button. Hit subscribe if you enjoy this sort of content. In the meantime, good luck with your game week, and I shall speak to you soon.